us are unique, you're different. So when it comes to putting your ideas together, not everyone is going to accept it. How do you make them accept it? That is your greatest challenge.
Good afternoon. This is Mallory from Hearts&Minds Development Center. For those who have joined us, and we can see there are many people who have joined us on YouTube, and we know that you are Jude's fan club. So welcome to Jude's fan club. Now let me just read out some of these names. Most of you I don't know. Anita, hi. Elizabeth, hi. Sandeep, oh, that's my friend. Hi, Sandeep. Thanks for joining us. Ruth, hi. Good to meet you. James, hi. Pushnam, hi. Roseanne, hi. Sasha Greens, hi. Shobha, hi. I think that's all for now. Now, what we're going to do is, I know you're Jude's fan, so I'm going to use his fan club. Can you please subscribe to our YouTube now? And, share it so that, that's the whole idea why we brought Jude in, to increase the subscribers, if you haven't realized it yet. So thanks for joining us. It's Being Whole, Being Me, Series 80. So can you imagine, I waited 80 weeks to get a friend of mine to be on my show, right? So Jude and I come a long, long way. So for those who see, I would say, the more well-mannered Muller, if you really want to know how wild I was as a teenager, Jude is the person to catch, right? So take down his number for those who are not his friends. My friends, if you want to know how I was then, he is the person to check in. Now, you would have seen in the introduction, this guy never stops learning. Quite scary. So, and it's been, would I say, honor, pleasure? No. Jude is from my hometown. We sort of shared 2 years in the same school, where I was naughty and he wasn't, right? And we've been in touch, so he knows the good and the bad and the ugly side of me. But it's great blessing and honor to have him on our show now. So without much ado, so that we have more time for gossip, let's bring Jude over. Hi, Jude.
Hi, Malala.
Jude. How are you?
I'm awesome, Malala. I'm awesome.
I can see in the introduction your photos also all women. Your followers also of maybe 15 people who have turned up, only 2 guys, Inas and Ruben. The rest of them are all women. So looks like you are a woman's man.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
That's
huh?
why you and I have been friends for so long, right?
Oh, okay. Before we go into where we met, how we met, thank you for saying yes. Okay.
My pleasure to be here.
I'm going to ask you a question. So I don't know how many of my friends are here. Sandeep is here, but let's see. Not really, people who know me, right? But I'm going to ask you because you know me. I think I've not brought a person into the show who has known me as long as you have known me, I think, right? So very quickly, because I'm also trying to increase my fan club. So tell me one thing that you distinctively remember about me when you all these years. One thing that you distinctively remember about
From then, right until now.
me. You can pick out one like anytime.
Okay, all right. You're a daredevil. I think I've nailed it when I say that you're a daredevil. Right?
Whatever that means, I think you just need to figure that out. So thank you very much, Jude. So I'm going to tell you what it felt like to meet Jude. So I've known Jude for many, many years, not counting the years, but what I remember of Jude is, if I looked up Jude in the dictionary, it equals to perfection. Having said that, while Jude has got great standards, high standards, he also has the most compassionate heart. And in the recent years that I've got in touch with Jude, it's been so heartwarming to see the amount of work and service that he has given to people generally, to I wanted to say women, to teenagers specifically. And I think it's my honor to have him on the show. So let's get on with introducing you and the work that you do, Jude, because a lot of women are coming and affirming you're a ladies' man, right? And feeling a
It's
little
true.
bit
It's true.
insecure, threatened, and all
Yeah,
that. So I want
it's
to get
okay.
off
It's
the
okay.
space.
It's
So
okay.
let's get on to work.
No
So
worries.
tell us, Jude. Now, so you are everything, right? So from the years that I've known you, I think when you moved to KL, you moved into training, but you've always been a teacher at heart.
True.
Wherever you can get the two, three fellows, you'll knock their head and teach them. Correct? Right?
Absolutely.
With or without the title, you're a teacher, right? So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your transition in terms of your career, because now we know you're an international speaker, corporate speaker, right? And at the same time, you are also, a therapist, a counselor. So first, tell us your shift from corporate world means everything done line to being a trainer, and then let's talk about your work with teenagers. Boleh?
All right. No
Okay,
problem.
good. And
Thanks,
smile a
Malan.
little bit. Smile a little bit.
Thanks, Malan.
Welcome.
Okay. First and foremost, for those who already know me, I would like to say thank you for being here. All right. And okay, just a little bit about myself. Okay. Um, of course, I started off my career in banking. From banking, I went to hospitality. From hospitality, I went to logistics and supply chain. Okay, that's how I spent my 20 over years in the corporate world. I still haven't left the corporate world per se, because you know that I still do a lot of coaching training. I'm still very much involved in that area. But over the recent years, I have gone a lot into coaching, doing therapy. You know that I'm a master trainer, and I'm also a hypnotherapist and blah 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 blah. Okay, so I do a lot of stuff. Okay, many people have asked me why the shift. Why did you go? You know, especially when you look at my profile, you are jack of all trades, master of none. All right, but then I also found on the internet, one of my students actually got me this and told me, jack of all trades, master of none. Master of none is better than one. Okay, so there's a third line, a third phrase to that as well. So for me, it was like you can do multiple things. You need to be an all-rounder. Okay, and I think if we are looking at what's happening today, especially I'm going to zoom in if we're talking about youngsters per se. I'm not going to just say teenagers. I'm going to talk about youngsters per se, because Malad, you and I are also in the category of youngsters. Okay, all right. So we are perpetually young. So I'm going to say this. I'm good. I have to say this. All right. What I'm seeing is that today, what's happening with the youngsters is precisely this. I think a lot of them are actually wanting to be recognized. They're wanting to be seen. They're wanting to be heard. All right. They're wanting to be seen. They're wanting to be heard. And this is the greatest challenge that we are facing, because personally, even I myself have made this mistake, even with the young ones that I have worked with. I have tried to, force my way, do it my way. My way is the correct way. Do it my way. All right. But I realized that that's nonsense. I perfectly realized that that's nonsense, because I have got enough youngsters. I hope some of them are here today to tell me, no, please listen. Listen. Don't say anything. Don't give us any advice. Okay. So I actually went into that area, into that phase where I understood that stop it. Just remain silent and listen. If they want advice from you, precisely, if they want advice from you, they will ask you for it. Otherwise, turn off, turn on. That's about it. Okay? Yeah, yeah. Beautiful earrings, Valer. Okay, so when I actually realized this, I was also telling myself, I look back and I look back 20, 30 years, I said, hey, I could have done a lot of things better. Okay, working with youngsters, I could have done a lot of things better. So over the last, 10, 15 years that I'm looking at, even when I came to Shah Alam to work, I remember, Mother, when you called me one day and you said, Jude, you still want to teach, right? And I told you, yeah. Okay, you call up Mr. Guna. I think he has got something for you in this program tuition right at Selangor. But it's voluntary work. Are you willing to go? And I was like, yeah. And I jumped for joy because even though I was in corporate, I spent a whole 9 years going after work, teaching and coming back at 10:30 in the night. Okay. And it was a marvelous experience. Today, when I look back at those students and I see where they are, wow. So, and everyone used to tell me, be careful. I mean, no offense to anyone who is from Sungai Way here. Everyone used to tell me, be careful when you go to Sungai Way. It's a dangerous place. It's this, it's that. I just want to tell you also, I think more than me saying anything, I think the students looked out for me, for my safety. So it was nothing. I never walked on the road alone. Okay, that 9 years, every year we had batch of students, and it was always a fun-filled thing that, it was really good. And today when I see them, they're still in touch with me. I go out with them, I sit down with them, I watch movies with them. It's a lot of things that are happening. So today, when we are actually talking about this self-esteem thingy, it's not only for the youngsters per se, it's also for me. It's also for me. I'm also learning a lot from them. I think if we shut the door and say that, we are the only ones that are sharing and giving them knowledge, I think that's so wrong. Okay, we can't be doing that because we have to absorb what they have to say as well. If you can't absorb it, or you just listen to what they've got to say, because you'll be surprised how much they've got value to share with you. Okay. Right.
So, dude, I think you've given us a lot of golden nuggets, right? Or maybe platinum nuggets, or diamond nuggets, whatever nuggets are. I think you've over and over again, given us one, the importance of self-esteem as human beings, right? So it's not a subject that is only for teenagers, but today we are focusing on teenagers. Why? Because Jude works with a lot of them, right? Number one. Number two, I think what you said about teenagers, but most importantly, I think this is really a human need. We all want to be visible. We all have a need to be visible, to be recognized that we exist in the world, right?
Right.
And I think that's the part I think a lot of us miss, right? Because when you exist, you want your existence to be acknowledged. And how do we acknowledge existence? And like what you said, just zip and listen, right? Because when we are giving advice, when it's not sought, when we're giving advice, it's not sought. What then happens is that we are making their voice become, we're drowning their voice and making
True.
them invisible, is what you're saying. What the other thing that you actually also said is that, a lot of times we think that when we serve people, we're doing them a favor. And I totally agree with you that a lot of times in the context of social work, we receive as much, if not more, than what we actually give. I mean, that's been my own experience. And I love the example that you gave about Sungai, because when I was volunteering in Kampung Medan, people say the same thing, but they don't remember that I come from Buntung lah. I've seen more. But yeah, that's a different story. But really, when I used to volunteer, I used to have, some gangsters actually standing out there because they're not very happy with the youth work that we were doing. And then, I felt safest. That was my safest space, because the people that you go there to serve return your service with so much of love. And the love that you're gathering today just online is really a testimony of the life that you have led. Okay, Jude. Now, you do all of this. Why not? And why now go into therapy? Now, before I go into that, I want to just echo um, what Sandeep has said just now. Let me get that right now. Sandeep said something along the line because you said, jack of all trades, you're learning. You said something along the line. Yeah, he said, bang in today's world, being all rounder, knowing more than one field of work. So I just want to add on to this. So it's not that for me, I don't see you as jack of all trades. You have learned all the traits that you need to focus to serve the people you want to serve. So if anyone wants to tell me that you're jack of all trades, please talk to me. Because if you look at Jude's qualifications, right, every time he's trying to resolve an issue for someone, mind you, he's not doing this for professional qualification. He wants to make it right. And so he acquires knowledge and qualification, which is what you would see how he moved on from the corporate world right into becoming the best trainer he can be to now being the best therapist that he can be. So I really don't think you're jack of all trades. You've acquired traits to serve that one need in your soul is what I think of you. I don't care whether people agree, but that's what I want to say about you. Okay. Now, so no, and I think that's important, and that's in line with what Sandeep is saying, because in today's world, we need to keep updating and upgrading ourselves. And Jude is not from today's world, right? We come from those days. Now, and this is a real example of what it means to be a lifelong learner for me. All right. So if there are teenagers who are actually, associated with you, I think that's something big that we all can take away, because whether we like it or today we're saying that we need to be lifelong learners, but you've already lived your life that way by continuing to acquire. Right. So that's what I want to say. I know it's your show. I'm just going to just address a couple of people. Afif, hi Afif, good to see you again after a long time. He says, listen and ask question is the basis of effective coaching.
True.
Definitely. And also coaching helps people to get to spaces that they want to. And I think that's really, really important, right? Now, being a coach is learning along to listen to youngsters. I think this is just not youngsters, but today we're talking about youngsters, right? Someone asked to me, okay, whether Sasha, you asked whether we are covering teenagers who are autistic as well. I don't think so. Not in the show. We'd love to. I'm sure Jude has a lot of experience, but I don't think that, because we have a lot of questions on Esteem, and I think people with special needs need a special episode. You may want to look at some of our episodes where we have covered this. And Sasha, if you get in touch with me, there's also a symposium coming up next week where this can and will be addressed. Okay. So with that, Jude, you've moved into therapy now. So tell me your interest in therapy and tell us a little bit. Yeah, tell us what got you interested in therapy, because that's where you're learning.
Okay. First and foremost, why did I even get into therapy, into neuro-linguistics programming, into mindset, into this, into that? Simply because of one reason. One of the first things was because I was looking for answers. This didn't concern anyone. It just concerned me. Okay, I was looking for answers. So in that context, I actually registered for the NLP program. I went and attended, and I met Dr. Arivalan. Okay, I think he turned a lot of things around for me, and he made me see things which I was actually unable to see. All right, and a lot of things which you always know me, Malad, as a very serious person. Okay, yeah, the no nonsense character. But if you were to tell this to the students that I've taught, the young ones that I've taught who are now adults, you tell them, I think Asha is here. Asha, I taught her when she was 15. That was donkey years ago. She's here. She's calling all the way from Singapore. She's here. All right. Now, if you ask her, she will tell you, Mr. Jude, serious. She'll probably laugh and roll on the ground, I think. That's how the youngsters would look at me. So you tell them serious, they'll go be like, serious? I think even if you ask Rene Matthias, he will tell you, serious, sir. 29 years, exactly. She was one of the first batch of students that I taught. And I would seriously say they bullied me. Yeah, because I was only, 21, 22? So now roughly they'll know my age already. Dangerous.
You know your age, they'll know my age also. Okay, let's not get there, but
okay,
moving
okay.
on. So that's really interesting because you decided that you won't show the light side or fun side of you to me, which probably was good. Now, Afif is saying unable to see. NLP will switch on the light for you. Thanks, Afif. Yes. So tell me, you said this. I was looking for answers. So you went into therapy. You inquired into therapy because you said you were looking for answers.
Yeah, because I think one of the reasons was when we're talking about self-esteem. Yeah, I was also trying to get myself. I was looking for my self-worth as well. I was questioning a lot of things that I was going through, and I'm okay to speak about it on this platform because for me, it's fine. Okay, I think at the end of the day, we all go through a certain phase, a certain episode, things that happen to us. So we all need that kind of support, and I
Yes.
found that kind of support. And I found the right set of people that I was actually mingling with, and my whole life turned around. Everything went in a different direction, and I started meeting people. I was able to sit down with them, and I was looking at things. Wow. And I was able to find maybe not 100% solutions to my whatever challenges that I was facing, but having said that, I was able to find solutions. Okay, I was able to find solutions. So that put me on a different track. And as I kept journeying, and I went and did my master practitioner and all the other things that I went and carried on, I realized that there were a lot of people who are actually in my position as well, and who were looking for answers. And so when I sat down with them, they came from youngsters right unto people, right until those who are actually even in the same age group as us. And I was like, wow, this is something that a lot of people don't want to actually come to terms with. Some are willing to, some are not. I think, of course, both you and I know, I think everyone here also knows, if you want to find, if you're searching, you're looking for something, one of the first things that you need to do is you need to acknowledge that there is something missing or there is a challenge. If you don't acknowledge it, then there's no way that you can actually find solutions for anything. All right. So that actually triggered me to do quite a bit of the things. And so as I kept journeying, now when I'm actually doing training, let's say, for example, in whether it's in human resource or whether it's in logistics and supply chain, I get people coming up to me during lunch breaks or break sessions and saying, can I talk to you? Can I talk to you? And it has got nothing to do with that subject matter. It's just that, can I talk to you? And when the session ends at 5 o'clock, 5:15, they come back to me and say, can you sit for a short while? Can I just talk to you? So I'm saying that you can be in the corporate world, you can do multiple things, you can keep upgrading yourself, but at the same time, if you know exactly what is it that you want, right, you'll be surprised how much you can do for people.
Nice. I think people come and ask you, can I talk to you? Because I think your whole energy is saying, I will listen to you.
Probably.
Because there are also people with what we call the no entry energies, right? No entry energy, where we look at them and we know that, okay, there are boundaries and, I can't talk to you. And I'm very sure you will have strangers talking to you too.
Yes.
See,
some of whom I've never even met. Yeah, I've only spoken to them on the phone or just random.
Total strangers.
Total strangers.
Yeah. See, I can read you a little bit, even though I didn't see this fun side of you. So tell us, Jude, so you've told us your transition, how you actually got into, therapy. So in your experience of working with teenagers, perhaps what NLP as well as your therapy experience is giving you is labels, helping you to compartmentalize and helping people to come out of the
Sure.
boxes. So that's what you're doing. You're looking for answers now. Okay, this is the toolbox that I can use to help people, right? But in having worked with teenagers, what are the transitions that you see with youngsters? But before that, right, you did say, we didn't never define self-esteem, but you did say that it did sound to me like self-esteem sounds like self-worthiness.
Yeah.
All right, that we are all first worthy as we are. But when we don't believe that we are worthy as we are, our esteem goes down. And sometimes we think we are more worthy than we actually are, then it goes a little bit higher. But well, we'll talk about low worthiness, right? And so that's what you're saying. So if you look at teenagers today, so you've been working with teenagers. Now, is it fair for me to say that you work generally with underprivileged teenagers or all sorts?
All sorts. I would say
Okay,
all
great.
sorts.
So now that you have years, I mean, you have Asha who's been with you for 29 years, but soon we won't talk about it, right? So in your years of experience today with your current, what you call it, skills that you have, current knowledge that you have, you would be able to see some transition, right? What what is the struggle that you see teenagers are experiencing and how is it shifting? What's causing the shift, if there is a
Right.
shift?
Okay. I think one of the biggest challenges, all right, that that teenagers are actually facing,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even you and I have faced, and maybe we have come out of it, maybe we haven't.
And
I
then
don't
I'm
know.
sure we're still there, teenagers love you.
Right. So, but the thing is, you were right. That is what I was actually trying to hit on just now, because it's about self worth.
Mm,
Because a lot of people try to convince you that you are otherwise. Okay,
mm,
I can't seem to understand why people want to do that.
mm,
But some people just, I think they just gather satisfaction wanting to break people. Why do you do that? So that's something that I see very common that's happening. And I
mm,
see it, I'm so sorry, but I see it a lot in the teaching fraternity, in the
mm,
educational fraternity. I see it quite a bit. All
mm,
right. Because you don't communicate with them. You just expect students to come in for classes, sit, go, get up, leave, do assignments.
mm.
Uh, I found it so strange that even at college, university level, students who are late, you lock the door and leave them outside without even understanding why they're late.
Mm.
Why are we doing things like this?
Hello, it's discipline. If you want to be successful in life, you should be disciplined. And I ought to teach you, I'm a teacher, I ought to teach you how to behave yourself. What's wrong with that?
I think we need to shift from that, because what's happening is that when we're doing this to kids, or whether we're doing it to youngsters, I think it's so bad, because they have their reasons for being late. If the LRT is going to be down, if the LRT is going to be late, okay, some of them are coming from other states, they're traveling and coming. You have no control over it, correct? I used to
But
find it
I'm,
so
I'm,
true.
I'm going to challenge you on that. I agree with you. I agree with you that we shouldn't disrespect. I agree with you. But, then how do we bring in, rules that is necessary for everybody, right? So now, if LRT is late, fine. I think that those would be exceptions to the rule. Why things that are beyond our control. But would you not agree that today we actually do have issues that for people to turn up on time for
Yeah,
no good
of
reason?
course.
So what
You
do you do
see,
then?
right? Okay, in situations of this sort, let's say for example, if you're generally sitting in the cafeteria and you're having your breakfast and classes have commenced, I think then it's a different story altogether. Okay, I've
Mm,
seen that as well. Okay, I've seen that as well. But
mm,
if you're having struggles, especially with transportation and stuff like that, I think then we will need to balance it out to see exactly what is the situation. That's why I'm saying that communication bit is so important for us to understand why.
Mm.
You know, I used to find it so cute that when they take pictures of themselves at the LRT station and they're stuck and and they'll actually post it in the group. You know, that's like, please, this is evidence that I'm like this, and I took the train at 6 o'clock this morning. So you get a lot of things. So, but then again, I think I'll ask this question. Okay, I'll ask this question. Whether it's a parent, a caregiver, a teacher, whoever, an educator, whoever, if there's one gift that you can give, okay, the kids that are under your care, okay, all right. So let's say that one particular child that's under your care, or the group of children who are under your care, and they need to, um, sooner or later they will have to leave the nest, right? Okay, they'll have to find their way. What are the values that you would want them to live with? What are the values that you would want them to live with? For their own, for their own growth. What is that one thing that you would want, or a few things that you would want them to live with? These are questions that I ask a lot of people, and one of the first things that they will tell me, you'll be surprised, especially the ones who are really engaged with their students, engaged with their youngsters, will tell you that to recognize self-esteem, self-worth. Yeah. And then will come a host of other things, self-respect, self-love, and a lot of other things. The ones who are very academically inclined will be looking at, oh yeah, please ask them to come and learn and go. Education is the most important thing and all that. Yeah, it is important. No one is saying otherwise, but I think we need to distinguish what's working where.
Yeah. But I think what you're saying is, so let's look at some of the comments, right? Sandeep is saying, I think it's not a blanket. So what you are telling in the example of late of locking the room is that, sometimes we put everybody under a blanket situation that it impacts their self-worth because you're
True.
shaming them. So I think what Jude is saying is, what I'm understanding from Jude is that, especially when we are in a powerful position, gone are the days where we shame people. It worked in the past, but whatever worked in the past had its negative effect. I think that's the part. I think whenever the old school of thought, I'm new school of thought, old school of thought, because my mother will say, if I didn't do that, you think it would have turned out so well, right? And I understand that, because I think the parents from a different generation had lesser resources than any one of
True.
us that we have to
True.
accept. So this is not about blaming them, but having said that, I think the part we don't talk about is that whatever actions that we take that shames, i.e. opposite of respect,
Yeah.
whenever we shame anybody, there is a negative consequences for that person in the long run, where they continue to carry the shame. And I think that's all this is about. And it's not about not holding people responsible, right? Now, Sandeep is saying being late is not welcome every day. Once in a while is fine, understanding. So discipline has to be there. So really, this is really about taking responsibility, holding people accountable while being compassionate. So it's not either or. I think it's bringing both things. Elias says, but students tend to take things as an advantage where they turn into a norm and they bring it to working world. How do you help them change their behavior to be more open and honest to grow? Okay, that's a question. I'm going to hold that question. Elias, coming to you again. Train is not late every day. Agreed. And why this is powerful to get your own answers. Yeah. And I think that brings us to, when you're talking about self-esteem. So you did mention about, Elias, I'm coming to your question later. Yeah. You're talking about how, some parents clearly state self-esteem as self-esteem. But see, what makes me worthy has a lot to do with what I believe makes me worthy. And for parents who believe academic qualification makes one to be worthy, we can't say it's wrong, totally wrong.
No, it's not.
A factor. It is a factor, that helps you with the esteem, because that's the worthiness that we are measured on in this world anyway, right? So can you tell us what are the factors with the teenagers that you work? What are the factors that contribute to their worthiness today? Today's teenagers.
Factors that contribute to their worthiness. Okay.
So, for example, academic qualification, we know when you're doing well, automatically you're looked upon as if you're worthy. So that's one. Money could be another one, right? Right. But what are other factors that you think, in your experience, actually contributes to esteem of today's teenagers?
You'll be surprised. Even dress code, the manner in which they dress, they don't want to be judged based on that also. All right.
Jude, so we don't want to talk. So sorry, yeah, because I want to get into factors, right? Because I think there's this big thing about judgment. I will wear what I want to wear and whatever not. And then you quote Steve Jobs, but Steve Jobs also had to wear certain clothes.
Exactly.
He became successful first. So let's not hide behind people judging me all the time, whether it's youngsters or not, right? Sorry, I know it's your show. So I get what you're saying. We shouldn't judge people. But if we just lead people astray, right? Today we have got some really good habits because someone told us this is good for you, right? I mean, if someone tells me that I want to wear my pajamas and come back, I come to for my class. I mean, I won't judge you, fine, but seriously,
Yeah.
right? So tell us the factors. So what makes young people today feel good about themselves, so that we all understand.
Okay. If you ask me, I think they're looking for self-confidence as one factor. All right, self-confidence. This is again another thing. It's either you build it or you break it, lah. Self-confidence, self-love, self-respect, and self-love. All this is different. They're all different things. Okay, because a lot of them are not even taught to love themselves.
Mm.
We are
Tell us
trying.
a little bit more about what we feel we are not teaching our children to about self-love.
Yeah. Okay. We've always heard this thing: love thy neighbor, okay, as you love yourself.
You Christian love.
How can you possibly love your neighbor if you have not learned to love yourself? Self-love. This is another factor.
Mm.
Self-love, self-respect, your self-worthiness. A lot of them don't even know what they are actually. Why do they actually matter? I look back and I talk to, in my therapy sessions, when I talk to some of them, you'll be amazed at what I actually found out. I need to share this. This acceptance and rejection in the womb, all right, this is another thing that has actually contributed quite a bit. Because we talk about self-esteem. This is another thing. I read some articles and I was surprised when I was talking to some of them and they told me, my father wanted a son. And I came into the world being, a girl, a daughter. And so therefore, lower, thought differently. These are things that are happening. And that's why you see.
That has already happened, because we know that every experience in our life, every story that has been told to us, either makes us feel worthy or not, right? I mean, and
It's
that's
coming in
the
that
example
flow.
that, which is therapy, right? Which is why we need therapy, because when we get into trouble, we realize that the voice that's controlling us is actually mostly from the childhood, right?
Yep.
But what do we need to understand about the teenagers need today, so that we can now contribute to their worthiness?
Okay. First, as I said earlier, you need to sit down and listen to them. It's
Okay.
only when you listen,
Mhm.
you can even figure out what to do for them. And
Okay.
again, as I said, don't go and ask them, okay, I'll map out one whole, solution for you and this will work out. No, it won't. and this one size fits all thing will not work as well. So you'll get different people coming with different things and different stuff. Why I actually had to speak about this thing about acceptance and rejection, because it has flowed all the way. And when I hear people speak, they say, well, this happened to me. My parents said they went for a scan and then they found out, oh, they wanted a girl. And it said they had I was born. So that disappointment has also contributed. So your self-worth is now affected. If your self-worth is affected, your self-esteem is affected. So if your self-worth, self-esteem is affected, your self-love is also affected. Where is your confidence level? These are things that we need to work with them. And I actually decide sometimes it's not actually the person per se. Also, we talk about youngsters, teenagers today. I think you also need to talk to the parents. But then again, we have this challenge that how many parents are willing to listen.
Yeah,
Some are, some are not.
I think you're very harsh on parents. I'm going to speak on the parents' behalf. Now, if I scan, I wanted a girl, you turn out to be a boy, you ask me, I tell you the story as is, didn't mean any harm. Now, come on, for the last 20 years, I've given my life to you. You still want to hold on to what I said to you when you were 3 years old. Hello, grow up. Okay, but never mind. I'm not a counselor, which is why I'm not a counselor. Like,
Wait. Sorry, Malar, I need to interrupt. This thing
okay.
about when you said, hello, grow up. This is another common thing that we're telling people today. Okay?
No, true. So my question to you is this, right? We are not hitting. You see, you can keep saying what parents have done wrong. We have done with. What do we do now is what you need to tell us, right? That's why we
Exactly.
brought you on the show.
So you have to address those issues. All right?
Okay.
You
When
have
they
to
tell
address
me,
those issues.
so when my children tell me, then first acknowledge it because it's listening
Exactly.
to what's
The
hurting.
acceptance bit.
Right. So
The
because they are not
acceptance
feeling accepted, that's why they are saying it. So accept it. Okay. Don't try to defend yourself like what Malar did just now. So accept it. After accepting, what do we do?
Then you have to work with them.
Okay.
You have to work with them. Don't work on them. Huh?
Okay.
This is
Work
another
with
thing.
them.
With
It's
them,
not
not
English
on
class,
them.
but he's saying he's also an English teacher. Don't work
On them.
on
Work,
them. You work
with them.
Okay.
Okay, that's so important. You work with them. Okay, as I said, whatever that I'm saying today, it may affect people in the educational fraternity, or parents, or even youngsters themselves. But then I think my sharing here today is for all of us to see what this is. It's coming from different angles. You're a parent, all right? You've got kids, all right? I'm single. People tell me, what do you know? What do you know? You're not a father. But I will just tell you this. I think I've raised enough kids to tell you that I know. And what kind of mistakes I have made also. All right. It's just there.
Yeah. So when my argument to that is this, right? I agree. I think if you've not been a parent, to say that you know and to know is two different things because I think parents are very attached. The problem with parenting is that we are very attached. I think being a non-parent, you can look at things more clearly because you can be detached. Right. So do I think people who are non-parents who say I've raised other people, I understand? In my opinion, no. But I think that's why it is important because parents, our problem is we lose objectivity because we become too emotionally attached with what we want for the child, the control side. So there's a lot of growing up that happens. For me, my children are my greatest teachers, right? And I don't think I'm going to finish learning until I die, right? So Asha has come on to validate and say, listen, acknowledge, validate. So work with them. So beyond listening, beyond acknowledging and validating them, beyond working with them, what are some things that you think as adults or as parents, caretakers, parents, family members, what are some things that we can do to help build the worthiness of our young people around us?
Okay. Spend time.
Ah, nice. Be present, spend time. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Find time. Yeah, everyone says everybody has got things to do for the whole day, right? We all say, right? But I think find time. make
And
yourself present.
that's again another way of listening, being
Yeah,
present, right? Because if you're
being
present, then
present.
you can be in listening.
True.
Okay, so listen, validate, acknowledge, work with them, be present, and spend time. Anything else?
Get off your phones when you're on these conversations with whoever that you are with. I
Ouch.
know it's an addiction because all of us face it. Okay, it's just something that we all have got adjusted to. Smartphones.
Mm.
I used to think to myself, so what? The phones that we had those days, were they stupid phones? I don't know, but but they were not as smart as the phones that we have today. Correct? Yeah, because we need the smartphones. We cannot, because messages coming in, emails coming in, everyone's communicating with you. You need to be everywhere.
You
You need
need
to
to
be
choose
everywhere.
your presence for people who matter to you, is what you're saying,
Yeah.
yeah, and being
So
aware of it. Mm,
when there are moments where you need to just cut off, you need to
mm,
cut off.
mm.
I think we do this with our friends as well when we go out. I think you would notice also. I think most of us are guilty of this. We sit at the same table, but we have met up and we're all on our phones first. We're checking, and then from time to time, there you go. Perfect example lah. I'm
Okay,
having
I
it
was
here as
role
well.
playing, okay?
Yeah. So, but it is what it is. But I think we also need to acknowledge these things that
Nice.
it actually, what happens is that I think if you're having a good conversation with someone, it
Mm,
doesn't need to be a therapy. Therapy is, again, labeling a lot of things, labeling people, labeling situations, and stuff like that. But I
mm.
think even if you're just sitting in a discussion with someone, just listening to them, I think the phone needs to go away. Because
Right.
the moment you pick up the phone, the person who is talking to you already feels like, God, probably he's not interested in listening to me. If you really need to take a call, all right, then I think you need to manage that also. What I do most of the time is I switch off. I actually put it on silent and I look at it probably when, I tell them, okay, let's just take a 5-minute break and look at what are the things that we need to do and get there. We have to be so careful with this because sometimes um, all this is actually, they are warning signals for us and we need to pay attention to them.
Mm.
Okay. So as I said from the start, this, beyond talking about the youngsters going through this and all that, I was going through something. Only then I was able to find out that, oh, okay. And then people started talking to me. I was like, okay. So you learn from these things, and
So, yeah.
youngsters are youngsters.
So we've talked. I mean, I think you're really, really good at telling the parents what to do. What are some things teenagers are doing to themselves to self-sabotage their own esteem?
This is another thing. Okay. All right. If I were to say priorities, I think most of the teenagers will feel offended as well. It's not about blaming parents, Malar. I need to correct you on that because we are not playing a blame game here at all. It's not about blaming parents. It's not blaming about anyone. It's not about all these things. The reality is that I think we all need to take responsibility for the things that we do. Whether we're doing it right or wrong, as I said, um, we'll only discover as time goes on.
Sure.
We'll only
It's
find
a
out.
learning process for
Yeah,
everybody as we
yeah,
continue trying. Yeah.
yeah.
So, what are the self-sabotage behaviors of teenagers that impact them? Their
Okay,
self-esteem.
right. The first thing, self sabotage. All right.
Okay,
I
children,
think
listen.
the first thing that I'll talk about, I think it's so important for teenagers to see and to realize who they mix with. The
Mm,
company is very, very important.
mm,
The
right.
company, the kind of activities that you engage in, the kind of conversations that you have, all right, the kind of conversations that you have, all these things are very, very important.
Mm,
Uh,
nice.
and I think even if you're going out just to have a meal with two, three of you just sitting down to have a meal,
Mm,
um, I think it's good to see what kind of discussions are y'all actually having. I think those topics are also important. So if you actually want to self sabotage yourself, if you
mm,
get all these things done in the adverse manner, I'll use the word adverse, you will notice that a lot of things will come as a backlash. A lot of things will happen. So I think this is where we, who are much older, when we have good conversations with them, I think in this aspect, that's why even today, if you look at youngsters, they want lecturers, they want trainers, they want coaches who come from industry. Why is it that they want to talk to people who are from industry? Why is it that they don't want to talk to just people who are, book knowledge, coming there and saying, okay, turn to page 11, let's go through this? They're not. What are they looking for? Why is it that they're looking for different things today? So they want to actually speak to people who have done certain things, who have done certain work. We're talking so much about all these things today that people need to learn. Okay, all right. If I'm going into this particular field, I always tell this to youngsters: you want to become a lawyer, please go and speak to a lawyer. You need to talk to someone who is in that profession. You don't come and speak to somebody who doesn't know anything about it, because they're going to put you on the wrong track. It's the truth. Speak to a doctor if you want to become a doctor. You want to become an engineer, or you want to become, whatever that is it that you want to do.
Look for relevant experience, and so that you get
Exactly.
relevant advice. Okay, fair enough. So Jude, before we do Ilya's question, right? You said three things which I think is fantastic, which is company, because my mom always says this, right? Show me your friends and I'll tell you what you're into, right?
Absolutely.
So brilliant, and my mom has never gone to school. So tell me, if you're looking at teenagers very quickly, right? What sort of company affects their esteem?
Okay. Now, it could be the kind of families that they come from, well-to-do. I'm not so well-to-do. All right, that could affect.
Social status, okay.
Yeah, social status. I'm educated. I have a degree. You have a diploma. That could also affect. All right, that's another issue. The way I dress. I come all hip hop and I wear expensive branded clothing. You don't. So even that affects. All right, the places that you dine, even that affects. Multiple
Are
things
you
that we look into.
saying, so what I'm trying, so let me understand. So what you're saying is that, so for example, if I am going out with someone who wears branded clothes, I then feel smaller. Is that what you're trying to say? So
You'll be surprised.
are you then saying, no, even among adults it's there, but are you, so, yeah, so my friends, a lot of them carry branded stuff, but my thing is I don't feel smaller because I don't know the brand. I'm
You
not
can
aware of the
join my
brand.
club. You can join my
Yeah.
club. Like I
So
said, I'm
it
very
doesn't
long.
make me feel any smaller, right? So I mean, I understand what you're saying, but my question is this: so if I'm a non-branded person, I'm going out with people who wear brands. I know there's peer pressure. I know how, so it can affect my self-esteem now. Because if then I want to be safe, then I only mix around with people, say, who are mine. But how am I going to learn? Because at some point, at any point in life, we're going to meet people who are better than us. There's always going to be a peer pressure of what is better, right? So how do teenagers manage this instead of running from it?
Okay. If you ask me, this is just my 2 cents worth, right? I think if you we are looking at social status now, we just use that as an example,
Yeah,
social
yeah,
status, right? I come from a well-to-do family.
yeah.
You don't, right? So if there are functions and stuff like that, and if you're invited, and even if they ask you, so where does your dad work, where does your mom work, what do they do, uh, you will notice that there will be youngsters who will avoid going for these kind of functions, because I've had students who have told me, I am so embarrassed because my father is a lorry driver. Okay, I've heard this kind of stuff. I've heard it, and when they tell me that, I'm like, oh, okay, but you are in uni now, and your dad is the one that's actually funding your education. And they even say, I don't want my dad to be at my graduation because he's a lorry driver. So can you see the connections that go with it? Because my friends' dads they're all professionals. So how can I actually go and introduce my dad? Or
Yeah.
how can this work?
No,
Uh,
I understand what you're saying, but
so
my
they'll
question
go,
is how do
yeah.
we
So
manage?
they will go back. They will go
Mm,
back and start mingling with a certain set of students, a certain set of
mm,
people. Okay,
mm,
which, for of course, it may be good for them. It may not be good for them. Also, I won't say it's bad, because you will try to find people of the similar thought pattern. Okay, and that's
mm.
not wrong. That's not wrong. That's absolutely, it's not wrong. Okay, but also at the same time, I think the important thing here is for everyone to understand. It's not only about youngsters. For everyone to understand is that, hey, it doesn't matter whether I wear branded clothing, or whether I'm rich, or whether whoever that I am. If my dad actually is a lorry driver, so what? I should be able to, be proud of him, because he still does a decent job.
No, I should be more proud of him because he works
Exactly.
so hard to give me the same
Exactly.
life.
Exactly.
That's I think that should bring your self-esteem up. Okay, sorry, I'm getting worked up, but never mind.
No, 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 please don't get worked up, because I hear so much of this stuff that I've got kind
But
of
I
used to.
understand. I understand because I think the problem for me here is so you're talking about self-sabotage. I think because we have associated the wrong factors to being worthy.
Mm.
My dad's job, my mom's job, where I live. So we're not looking at, the value in it, but we're looking at the external dressing and how it is measured in this world's view. And I think that's a big problem. And I think that's a part that we need to manage, not just for teenagers. I don't think it's just for teenagers. I
It's
think
for
it's for
all, even in the workforce.
there is always peer pressure. There's always peer pressure, which is why I think healthy self-esteem is really important because as long as we are operating at our best, we are good, we are enough, we are worthy, is for me what builds self-esteem, right? So Dina says, well said. I'm not sure what is well said. Tell me which one is well said. I'm trying to see whether the compliment belongs to Jude or me, Dina. I know you're Jude's friend, but never mind. Afif says, many ways to reframe what is perceived to be a negative thing. Correct. Reframe is such fun process to lead as a coach. Thank you.
True,
Thank you
absolutely.
very much, Afi, for saying that. So what we're trying to do here is, I think Jude has given us a lot of examples as to help us put ourselves in a teenager's shoe all over again. Because as adults, we can say, yeah, what's a big deal? If your father's a lorry driver, you should be proud. It's easy to say that as an adult. But I think as a young person, the stress is real. Just
It's
like,
true.
yeah, just like how an adult feels that, my friend drives a better car, my neighbor drives a better car,
Yeah,
it hits us too. And the derailment actually helps us to bring us back. And really, that's the point that we are, trying to bring about. Sandeep is saying healthy self esteem should be taught early ages in teenagers.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think you can't have self-esteem if you don't have a healthy sense of self. A lot of the things that we're discussing today has a lot to do with the seed of we are not even sure what does it mean to be me and me as a healthy person. Okay, Jude, last question before Elias hates me. Well, 1 o'clock. Students tend to take things as an advantage and they turn into a norm and they bring it to working. And how do you help them to change their behavior to be more open and honest to grow? So these are young people who are coming into workspace, and we know the new generation is looking at new rules, right? So he's asking, because we're looking at, if we take it as a norm, no, we don't judge you. We let you do what you want to do. You live your life the way you want to live, as long as you get the job done. So he's asking how do we help them change their behavior? What's your take on that?
How do we help people to actually change their behavior? To me, I think if you're going into the workforce, and if you have accepted certain things as your norms,
Mm.
unfortunately, when you go to the workforce, um, whether the workforce accepts you or not, that is a different story altogether. Okay, because the work culture in every organization is different.
Mm.
That's why some of us feel that we are a fit, some of us are a misfit to some organization. So there's nothing much that, really that you can say that, oh, I have this set of things that I will be like. And when I go into work, this is how I will be. I remember at one point, Malar, you told me this many years ago. You said, Jude, sometimes it's about the way you say things, Jude, your tone, your tonality and stuff like that. And I used to always reflect on that. I always used to reflect on that. To a great extent, you were right. But then again, if I
Mm.
had not enforced that tonality, all right, I think people would have walked all over me
Mm.
because I needed to set those kind of boundaries as well. And unfortunately, it had to come with a certain tone. So I didn't have much of a choice. So to answer Elia's question, all right, it's not easy. You're going to have all kinds of challenges if you go into the working world. Elias is also my student, so he would know because we speak most of the time. For the last 5-6 years, he's been with me. All right, so we speak all the time, and he shares with me most of his challenges, and we talk, we listen, And I don't advise him. If you can ask him, he'll always tell you, I don't advise him because it's not worth. All right.
Nice. Nice. So what you're basically saying is that whatever behaviors young people or teenagers are acquiring today is actually going to prepare them for the workforce, and it's really demand and supply. Whether the workplace is going to change
Mm.
and make you a fit, or if the workplace doesn't change, you become a misfit, then you need to figure out whether you want to change or not. So it is really, we don't know how things are going to evolve in the future, but we know that every choice comes with a consequence. All right, and we
Absolutely.
need to be accountable for the choices that we make, right?
Mm.
Malala, I would say, as Jude said, work with them in becoming a better human with a strong core values and high self-esteem. Thank you, Sandeep. And Dina says, we need to understand, yes, perfectly said, Dina, we need to understand the different generations and the trials and tribulations they are going through. Things are so different from their
Their
perspective.
perspective. It's
We
true.
don't live their life.
Yeah.
We cannot say what was true 20, 30, 40 years ago is relevant today. Thank you, Dina, for helping us to, check on the relevance and paraphrasing this for us. So for all those who've joined us, thank you very much for joining us. I hope this was good use of time in helping us understand what is self-esteem, based on Jude's input in his work with teenagers. The whole idea of doing this is really looking at, one is, how what teenagers are actually going through, and whether we like it or not, I think as adults, our role is actually to create an environment and support them so that they can be the best versions of themselves. So hope you have had, you enjoyed the conversation, as well as it was good use of your time. Of course, I would say please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you
Thanks,
can.
Sandeep.
Yeah, and we're also on Spotify, so you can hear us there as we bring in more topics. As we do that, Jude, one last, not piece of advice, but nugget of wisdom for all those who are listening. Give us a tagline, Nawe. I like
I
the
think
smile.
I, I think I this taglines and all that for me it's just I'll go back to the same thing that I said earlier. uh, I think we just need to learn to listen, okay, and not to give advice.
Nice. Well,
uh,
I'm going to tell what is Jude's tagline, which is my favorite. It says, I'll try to do it the Jude way. Not
mm,
everybody wants advice.
exactly.
They just want to be.
Want to be heard.
Okay, Jude, you said your way. It obviously didn't sound like you.
All right, okay. Not everybody wants advice, right? They just want to be heard. That's all.
With that, let's say goodbye to Jude. Jude, thank you for joining us. And yes, we can say goodbye to Jude. So thank you for joining us. And this is Malar in our Being Whole, Being Me series 80. Teenager self-esteem matters. Thank you for joining us, all of you, and continue to join us as we hope to bring in more relevant topics for you. As we say that, stay well, have a brilliant weekend till we meet again next week with another interesting topic that is both relevant to all people. With that, bye.